back.
Welcome back.
Fucking memory.
It's been a while.
It's been 3 weeks.
I've been busy.
I got sick. Ben's been busy. My birthday passed. My shoes got dusty.
I got you something for your birthday.
You got me something else?
No. Just referring to the thing
Yeah.
I got you.
I have fucking crosscode, which I need to
Physical.
crack into. Physical, European physical copy. It's the first European game that I have for my Nintendo Game Switch. Probably going to be the last, but who knows? I might end up with another European bit of software to play. But
Just wait till Project Rainforest 2.
fuck is that?
Wasn't that the code name?
Rainfall.
For when? Rainfall. Fuck.
Rainforest? Yeah,
Fucking
Project
whatever, man.
Rainforest.
Fucking
Yeah.
gamer names for
Fucking
shit.
gamer name. Unfortunately, it fucking worked. The one time
Is it unfortunate? We got Xenoblade Chronicles.
I was going to say, the one time the gamers got something, but at least it was the right thing.
Yeah, it
because
was the right thing to ask
Xenoblade
for.
Chronicles came over here. Last story came over here. And what was the third one?
Pandora's Tower.
Pandora's Tower, that's right.
Yeah.
But look, that's not what we're here to talk about today.
We're here to talk about games.
What's your fucking name, dude?
My name is Benjamin Tanamleb to Benjamin.
Oh my God. My name is Geron. The test is negative, Geron. And I was going to say something, but you know what? I decided I'm not going to say something. I'll just say it to you when the mics
Say
are
it.
off. Huh?
Say it.
I was going to take some of your wife's prenatal pills, but I decided against it. I just saw them
growing a child.
I saw them sitting there when I was petting the cat, and I decided maybe I wanted to have some too.
Good nutrients for a growing boy.
Inside of my womb.
I'm having my own little Simon Belmont.
Yeah, oops. Cat's out of the fucking bag, isn't it? But look, that's not important. I'm kidding.
What is important is video games.
Video games. That's what we're talking about today, as usual. So what are we talking about? A lot of stuff has happened in the last few weeks.
A lot of stuff has happened. Astrobot came out.
Astrobot came out. Cool game.
It is cool.
Fucking the fuck else came out? The Castlevania Dominus Collection came out on my birthday.
It's true.
Cool game.
What are you looking at me like that for?
Incredibly cool. 3 games
Plus
a remake of Haunted Castle, which is the arcade.
the fact that it was a full
Castlevania
remake
game.
was cool.
It's a full. Not
Why
only
did-
is it
why
a
did
full
they
remake
do
of the original
that?
game, because the game sucks.
Oh,
so now the
that's what I
game doesn't
figured.
suck.
If only they did that for some other games.
Hey, your opinion on these fucking games is all kinds of fucked up, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Speaking of fucked up, a new PS5 got announced this week too.
PS Cinco 5.
PS5 Professional, you know what I'm saying?
Professional?
PS4 Pro.
Oh,
PS5 Pro.
I see.
Yeah.
It doesn't really seem that pro. I'll be honest.
Dog. All right, we'll start with that.
People are posting screenshots like the big journalist, the journo heads, Jason Schreier,
Jason Schreier,
the big tweeters out there.
So look,
they post screenshots.
The
Even Digital Foundry, they're posting screenshots. They're like, "Oh, it's night and day
the
difference."
screenshots are.
I'm just like, am I blind?
Am I crazy? Are you crazy? You can't post screenshots of something
Yeah,
like this.
I kind of figured.
It means nothing. The whole point is to get quality visuals with performance frame rate.
Yeah.
For a $200 premium without a disk drive. Jesus.
It's just weird that they're even like showing it.
You
Like
can't,
screenshots. Like, why are they even doing that?
the only way you can demonstrate,
What's the
that's for
point?
just media engagement.
What's the point is going to be the theme of this episode.
There's going to be a lot of what's the points, I'm sure. Like what's the point of even recording? No, I'm kidding. But
What's the point of existence?
there you go. But look, man, PS5 Pro, you can't demonstrate that shit with a screenshot. We won't know how that thing is until we're in person. Until people have it in their hands actually and are saying, "Hey, I really notice a difference," or "Hey, I really don't."
I'll be honest. I am
Meaningless
curious
machine.
about it. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, I want
to
see it.
Yeah.
I don't need to have one. I would like to see it.
I would sell my PS5 for one if I need to see it first, obviously.
Yeah.
200 is steep.
An extra
I don't think
200.
I don't think we've seen a 200 markup for an in-generation upgrade. Like PS4 to PS4 Pro was, I think, 50, I want to say.
PS4 Pro was the same price the PS4 was when it launched.
Shit.
Because console prices have not been going down at all. They've only been going up this generation. Either staying the same or going up.
Japan got even more fucked.
Japan's that PS5 Pro specifically, but PS5 I think in general is kind of fucked in Japan. I think it's over
even before they announced it.
Yeah, if you're not Nintendo or PC or mobile in Japan, you are fucked right now. You are not.
Which it's kind of ironic because like it's almost like they're intentionally trying to kill the console market in Japan because like consoles already like aren't really that big in Japan anymore, which I can imagine are a number of cultural reasons.
Yeah,
like,
there's
mobile gaming has gotten really huge. People don't really like being in their much smaller footprint houses.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say the small spaces that they live in plus the smaller spaces that they live in plus the commutes.
The commutes are longer.
Commuting at all. There's a lot of jumping from train to train, things like that you do. So it's just preferable to have a machine you can carry around. Yeah, that's just how that's gonna go.
Yeah, so it's like people keep talking about how bad the FF7 Rebirth and Astrobot sales have been. Yeah. But it's like they're both PS5 exclusives and thus console exclusives.
Exactly.
Which it's like I'm not terribly surprised by this.
There's nothing. Yeah. They can only sell so fucking much because there's only so many consoles in people's homes.
I think the Astrobot sales news was a big indicator for this because I think some people were saying that FF7 Rebirth was like not profitable because it's a AAA style situation. But I think it's clear that it has nothing to do with the size of the game or the budget.
Yeah, it has everything to do with just factors against the console business.
Yeah, in Japan over specifically.
There. Here,
we haven't heard any news on the sales here.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't heard any news on the sales in the U.S. And what's up? Between digital and physical sales, we often don't get the numbers on the digital stuff until like way after the fact.
Yeah, like quarterly.
And more people are purchasing digital, regardless of how many people say I'm only going to get physical. It's not true. Most people, many people go digital.
It was very intentional to leave the disc drive off for the PS5 Pro.
Right. So the PS5 Pro exactly it doesn't include the disc drive, and there's no like upgraded premium version. Christ, there's no other SKU that has the disc drive included. This machine is literally game console, no stand. No disc drive. If you already have the stand and disc drive from the PS4, PS5, I keep saying PS4, PS5 Slim model, then you can just use those on this console. But if you have a PS5 Slim, you probably got it not even a year ago.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be real with you right now. I think it's funny how people keep saying like, oh, the disc drive already sold out. Send a message to Sony. Two things about that. One. Scalpers are real. Scalpers are 100% a majority of who bought that shit up. Second of all, people are buying this thing out of a panic and out of a FOMO mentality. Yeah, I can guarantee you, of the people that are genuinely buying and installing these things, it's probably like 50% of them are even using it once. Yeah, I cannot remember the last time I put a disc into my disc drive PS5. Fair. But I bought a disc drive PS5 because I was like, well, I might get a physical game. Yeah. I might do this. I might do that. I fucking haven't.
And you don't own a single disc-based PS5 game, you do?
I do, yeah. I have a couple I bought because sales, I want to say a lot of sales will be for physical only games, like at Best Buy and stuff. Yeah. So I think I have Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
Great game, by the way.
I've seen that.
Is that it? No, I think I have Returnal.
Do you have Returnal physical?
It might only be Guardians of the Galaxy, actually.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's one.
Yeah.
The what's it called? And my thing is, if I were to get a PS5 with a disc drive on it, it'd be specifically to play PS4 games.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Pick up and borrow PlayStation 4 games to play on the console. That's it. If I were only in it for PS5, I'd probably be fine.
Yeah.
With a digital only console. Granted, I'd still want a disc drive on a console that's $700.
Yes, that's it.
For $700,
I do think there is a reality to what people are saying, that like they are getting away with this, so to speak, because there's no competition.
Yeah,
I think that's fucking true.
The competition is Xbox, and they don't care. They don't care about that shit anymore.
They've dropped the ball entirely on the hardware market.
Right. Like hardware side, Microsoft is half out. They're, they barely have games to support the console, but they do have games being published on every other platform.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you just don't need Xbox. So PlayStation 5 has the unique distinction right now of being generic video game box. Like if you want to play video games, you're probably going to get a PS, like, you know, the highest fidelity video games right now. You're probably going to get a PS5.
I'm also still convinced there's some kind of weird economies of scale type situation that's going to help drive down the price of the regular PS5 because of this. I don't know how. I can't rationalize this in my head, but I feel like it's like the profits of the Pro will offset the cost of what they can charge for some of the regular lower end, you know, stock units that they have.
Yeah, you'd think that would be the case, and Valve did that when the OLED came out. The LCD version got sales. Like,
it happens
sales
sometimes.
But like Nintendo released the Nintendo Switch OLED, and the original Switch never ever went.
Well, Nintendo's a bad comparison because they really don't lower shit unless it's like dramatically fucked up.
Unless it's fucked, but even then, they released another model of the system with the Switch Lite, which is cheaper. But then you have Microsoft, who has had ups and downs, and they recently, despite them being in a fucked up situation, they've not dropped price on anything. Like Series S, Series X.
I don't think we're just gonna see. I just don't think we're gonna see drop prices.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like the PS5 Pro is not going to see the PS5 go down in price. What it's going to see is the PS5 is going to become a more attractive offer because there is something so far away price wise from it.
So when I mentioned lower the cost of PS5, what I more meant was like from conversion perspective. Like I feel like a lot of times in other markets from the US, like I'm thinking of Japan specifically.
Yeah.
Like I think there's some conversion that they're eating in some of those markets. And I'm hopeful that this will at least keep prices stable in all of the other markets. As like, you know, inflation and geopolitical nonsense takes its toll.
Nonsense. But yeah, no, I understand what you mean. Okay. So would you get one? Like what about it would cause you to end up getting one outside of seeing the thing and being just completely impressed with it?
I would want to run a couple of I'm going to put a fake experiment in my head together, right? If I have a TV set up with a PS5 Pro next to my TV with a PS5 and I can play the same game on both and like look at them and compare.
Yeah, check the differences.
That would help a lot.
Okay.
I would be curious because like here's the reality, right? I played through a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I didn't notice the fact that it was like 30 FPS.
Yeah, you got used to it.
Yeah, I get used to it.
Yeah,
in 2 minutes, you will get used to 30 FPS if it's stable.
Right, stable is
if
important.
the frame pacing and the stability is solid. You're just I just don't notice it, right? So yeah, it's cool to see it in 60 FPS to I guess enjoy that enjoy it like that modicum amount more.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like it's cool. It's cool. I guess like if it does genuinely smooth out some of the edges or lighting is improved, I think lighting would be a big deal.
Yeah, I mean
for me.
It does I don't think Rebirth uses ray tracing, does it?
I don't think it does.
Yeah. So I mean it doesn't get the benefit of the enhanced ray tracing from the PS5 Pro. I mean
it would probably be something like if I were to replay a AAA game or play something like Cyberpunk, something that does like intentionally have ray tracing, or if it gets to a point where things are releasing later in the PS5 lifespan, like the third Jedi Survivor game, or the third FF7 Rebirth game,
which is obviously being worked on.
Yeah, so I imagine those are going to come out for PS5.
Yeah, and I think.
So I'm not going to buy one now, but I think when some of these games that I'm like very intentionally excited for, that I would want to play on the PS5 come out and see what the difference is at that point.
Yeah.
Then I might pull the trigger.
And I think an important thing they should have shown, because in the 10-minute technical presentation is what they called it, they showed old games, like nothing new. They showed nothing new. They that's a complaint that a lot of the media outlets are talking about, whatever. But I agree with them. I think they should have been like, this is a new anticipated game or just a new game altogether.
Yeah.
And demonstrated using the benefits that game is getting from being developed with PS5 Pro in mind.
Yeah, I would say if I were to sum up what needs to be true for the difference in game experience, I would say it has to be like two major things, whatever those things are. If it's like enhanced lighting and ray tracing on versus off and frame rate is like doubled.
Yeah.
like if 2 of those things are true, like there's probably some other things like anti-aliasing and fucking whatever, like VRR, like getting near 120 hertz, things like that.
Yeah.
If like there's 2 types of jumps made available through the PS5 Pro, that to me is probably worth it. If it's just one jump where it's like ray tracing on versus off, but frame rate's the same, or like frame rate goes from 30 to 60 and that's it. That's probably not enough of a sell for me.
Okay. And you have most of the equipment to get the most out of something like that, but in my particular case, I just use I use like the very last LCD TV that I could get. And it looks good, it looks fine, it does what I needed to do. It's 1080p. That's all I needed. Like if I were to get a PS5 Pro, I would not see
you wouldn't get any
benefit out of that at all. But like imagine you're interested in PS5 Pro, you don't already have this stuff. If you're thinking of getting a new TV, a new like 4K OLED, thinking of getting a new sound system, whatever, thinking of getting
a new monitor to plug in your PS5 into 1440, 120 hertz, VRR enabled.
Right. If you're already getting all of this stuff and you have the money to just kind of blast for another thing, you may as well get the Pro. But at the same time, it's like, people say, well, if the Pro is going to be this much, then you may as well build a PC. And I think people misunderstand.
That's such a misguided argument.
I think when I say something like that, I don't actually mean that you're going to build an equivalent PC with the same money. That's not what I think. What I think is if you can afford to buy a console for that much, you probably can afford to spend more money to build a PC.
I don't think it's a money thing though.
I
think money's part of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a convenience thing.
It is, I mean,
I think convenience is money. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
If people are willing to spend $700 a PS5 Pro, they might also be people that are also like shot for time. Like they really want to maximize their 1 hour per week or whatever, and they want that to be the best possible experience. So they go on Amazon and they buy a 4K TV, 7.1 sound system, and the PS5 Pro because they want it to arrive ready. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like ready
They want everything just ready.
They don't want to spend 4 hours putting the thing together, testing, making sure your motherboard posts, making sure you slot it in the RAM correctly and you don't have to reseat it.
And then not to mention the troubleshooting that comes with.
And then you realize your power supply is actually like kind of fucked up, so you got to send it in for the warranty. Yeah, like it's a fucking headache. Like, anybody that's like, oh, they just proved that gamers are stupid and can't go into Steam and hit play. No. It's like that was a real tweet.
Yeah, I realized.
I was like, Jesus Christ,
that was too. You fired that one off a little bit too smoothly for that to not have been a real thing.
It's really missing the point. Like I get it. I totally get the value of PC. I have a PC and I use it.
Yep.
But it's like the Steam Deck is the perfect example because of like what people or what I want as somebody in that kind of a sphere of like just wanting the convenience. I would rather play a game at lower fidelity on the Steam Deck because it's just ready.
You just have
like it's convenient.
Turn on gameplay.
It's truly convenient.
It's sometimes that takes a little bit of messing with too, but that's not the same as you don't have to build the Steam Deck.
Exactly.
I
don't have to think about like, oh, well, if I added an extra 8 gigs of RAM, maybe my frame that in the back of your head the whole time like is super fucking annoying, especially when you're talking about thermals. Thermals are something that eat at me a lot
today. In fact, that point actually makes me agree with their idea that they're seeing the choice of performance and fidelity mode as a problem. We've mentioned this before.
Yes.
And I'm glad they kind of agree with us.
Yes.
I think choices are good.
They did lead with that, didn't they? Where it's you don't have to make a choice anymore.
Right, exactly.
It's just best in class experience.
Yeah. I think having that choice, like a lot of people who play video games and talk about them are like more options is better and all that. Some options are better. More options, not necessarily better. Because
it depends on what the options are.
Exactly. Like
what options are we talking about?
If we're talking about options that mean you can play the game at all, okay, fantastic. If you're talking about options that are like between something is shitty or something is shitty, That's kind of what this is.
Compromise. Yeah, you have to choose where you want to compromise.
Exactly.
They put the onus on the player.
Right. And you like with compromise. Why did I say that? With fidelity and quality modes, anytime I see it, I'm always like, well, I can't play I'd have to do 2 playthroughs of the fucking game because I feel like I'm missing something if I don't use one mode over the other, vice versa.
It's like, especially coming from QA, like both modes are tested to some degree.
Both modes are tested, and I can tell you for sure that one mode is tested more than the other one.
Yep. We saw that with Jedi Survivor release.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor, especially the frame rate mode is just a little like kind of extra option in the options. It's not like a full.
It wasn't like full
switch.
Option A, Option B.
Yeah, and you can tell that a lot of these games are built around their quality mode.
I just also need to shoot a plug out here for Jedi Survivor because the game now, after the latest patch last week, fucking runs on Steam Deck like reasonably well. Which is insane thinking about where we were at with the PS5 at launch
last year. Yeah,
like really stumbling to like get through the game, and it's in such a polished state now that it's so sad when I see like a tweet today that was like, oh yeah, we're just confirming that we are actively working on the 3rd game and it is going to be the last game. It's going to be a trilogy. Yeah. And I saw like 10 of the top responses were just like, have they ironed out the performance issues yet? Or like, oh, love this game, but it was such a mess at launch. Like just forever etched into the history books as like broken game.
And that's the fuck up though. When you release a game like that, the people who are going to be playing the game immediately and then talking about it the longest are the people that are going to play in that state.
Yeah.
It's not the people that are going to be like, oh shit, the PS4 version runs great. That's coming out this month.
It sucks so bad.
It's like, no, there's a last gen version coming out.
Yeah,
and it looks fine.
Looks good.
It looks fine. Like, it's like, what the fuck? How does this exist? This is, it's Doom on Switch level kind of thing. Like, this is good enough. But
which is also crazy because like that also gets to the like one of the challenges with the PS5 Pro is that like compensating optimization and polish for just brute forcing
right.
Which is like also probably what the PS5 Pro is going to be mostly used for by third parties.
And I think that's
just continuing to brute force as like rushed and like, as tight of a timeline and cost cutting as you can.
And I think that's what happened with PS5 and Series X and S to an extent. But because the consoles are as powerful as they are, they kind of just got everything thrown at them, which meant they ran a certain way, which then necessitated the desire for a PS5 Pro. When the reality of that should have been that SDKs and techniques and all that should have improved over the last 4 years to negate some of the more problematic stuff that was getting in the way of getting the frame rate they desired or getting the performance that they should have gotten out of it visually or otherwise.
On the other end of the spectrum, it's going to be very ironic when everybody's basically saying this. Like it seems like kind of a general agreement that too much money and it's people are kind of brute forcing things. People keep saying in these responses like Nintendo's had it right since day one. Don't compete on technical prowess.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Switch 2 is announced and they show the tech specs, everyone's going to be screaming and crying about how underpowered it is.
That it's underpowered. And it's like, man, y'all are.
I can guarantee it.
It's always a crazy thing because the numbers and the tech specs of a video game console in 2024 or 2025 are going to matter so much less than they used to when it comes
other generation in history.
When it comes to getting just games,
Yeah.
Like we're not getting the big jumps anymore. That's over. It's like we've hit a point with the delivery of the medium that you're mostly just going to get more conveniences in general.
What's going to be interesting about the Switch 2 once they release it, which rumors are saying October now, we'll see. We know how you feel about rumors.
Yeah.
But what's going to be interesting is, and I imagine, it's the first console without Iwata, which is interesting.
Yep, it's the first console without Iwata after...
as part of that, and as part of just general, I think, phasing out of the people that have been there forever. Like Miyamoto's definitely sort of doing his own thing.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's involved in Switch too, but
he's doing ancillary stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
So like it is going to be very interesting to see what direction they take it.
Mm-hmm.
They could just do Switch, but more like same form factor,
same
but just
form
more powerful.
Right.
That would be fine.
That would be fine for
it would
the
be
majority
very
of people.
not Nintendo,
Right.
I would say. So it's just gonna be interesting because if it is just Switch but more, there's gonna be two comments that are constantly made. One is crying about how it's underpowered,
Yeah.
and two being that specifically there's gonna be people trying to compensate that statement by saying like, oh well, I'd be okay if it was underpowered if they had done something Nintendo with it.
Yeah.
Or like done a new direction or a new gimmick or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So, but they're gonna be like, oh, but just because it's Switch but more, it should have been more technically powerful.
Like
Guarantee that's gonna be like the overwhelming.
For most people that don't really understand how this
internet
kind of
opinion.
Works. If it's just Switch but more, it would be a Game Boy Advance situation, and I love the fucking Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Just give me one that plays the new games and the games from the original system. And
there's basically
I'm fine.
two consoles that did that: Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance. In terms of like providing experience but more.
Yeah.
Although I guess Super Nintendo added like 4 buttons to it.
Yeah,
so
Super Nintendo had
that's a little bit dramatic.
and it didn't have any backward compatibility.
Right.
Yeah. Like Game Boy Advance can play every Game Boy.
Right. Game Boy Color.
Any problem, yeah.
I mean, I guess Game Boy Color to that degree also is kind of like, but adding color is sort of a new thing too.
Game Boy Color is the Game Boy Pro.
Right. Yeah.
Like the games were still coming out for the original Game Boy, especially when you talk about Pokemon. Like the original Game Boy was still getting games up until 2002.
Right.
So it was that's 89 to 2001.
It's just interesting because I guess even like all of these have some actual functional difference. Like Game Boy Advance added L and R, Game Boy Color added color. So maybe the N64 to GameCube, like the controller changed, but it was still kind of the same buttons.
N64 to GameCube, it added X and Y. That's literally it. The C buttons turned into a stick.
Yeah, I guess they added X and Y. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I guess it still added something.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it's truly just Switch but more, that would be kind of a first in terms of like really not changing anything, like status quo.
Same button layout, same controller, or same Pro controller.
I feel like there's got to be something. I feel like I'm gonna hold out for my dual screen.
A dog, no dual screen. It's not a dual screen would be so jank. You'd have to put 2 screen protectors on. It'd be a mess.
I love how that's the first thing you say. Is the fact that it would have 2 screen protectors.
Just 2 big ass screens. That'd be a fucking mess. That's worthless.
A clamshell Switch.
Give me a clamshell so I can just cover the thing. But I don't need
Switch.
2 screens is fucking obnoxious on something that big. DS fine because the DS was a perfect.
I mean, they could make
it
smaller.
They could make it smaller, but they're not going to make it smaller.
No,
they can't make it
because the Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I mean, like the Joy-Con, the fucking battery. They're not going to make that fucking shit smaller, dude.
Yeah.
And not to mention, I assume this is going to work on the same docks we still have.
Yeah.
Especially because you can update the OLED dock, and that dock has never gotten an update.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But in the fucking end, we'll see how the PS5 Pro is received when it actually comes out and people have the thing. Yeah. Because I think as it is, it's not very. It makes the original PS5 more attractive. That's what I think its purpose has been.
With you on that.
All right. So
2 things I could talk about now. I could talk about Astrobot or I could talk about Castlevania.
I kind of want to roast you on Castlevania, but
let's talk about Castlevania.
All right,
even though it's a kind of a whole topic.
Yeah.
All right. So Dominus Collection came out.
Dominus Collection came out on my birthday.
So I was like, I've never played any of these games.
Yeah.
It's weirdly like the only major franchise, maybe not the only one, but
one of the bigger franchises that you just haven't
really
touched.
barely touched.
Yeah.
So of the Castlevania games that I've played and or beaten, I don't think I had beaten any of them, to be honest. I had played a lot of Symphony of the Night, of course. Everyone
eventually touches Symphony of the Night, whether they mean to or not.
Yeah, it's been available on tons of things, so that definitely helps.
You can buy it on your phone right now.
Symphony of the Night, I got through like the 50% twist with level layout changes. It inverts. So I did that. I got a good ways through it, and I think I just kind of fell off because it's kind of a big game. So I also definitely had Circle of the Moon because it was a GBA launch
That's
game.
a GBA launch title. Yeah.
So I definitely played a lot of that. I think I have beaten Circle of the Moon.
Okay.
So I remember it being kind of easy because you can break it pretty.
You can break it
funny
very,
ways.
very easily.
I really liked that aspect of it.
The fact that you can break it so like you don't have to think to make that to do it. You don't have to get the cards. Basically, you just get 2 cards.
I had played the original Castlevania on WiiWare.
Okay.
So I had that, and I had gotten as far as normal people get. And then I had touched. I had touched. We can go back to that. And I had touched Super Castlevania 4. I have it on Super Nintendo. I had never really gotten that far with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, I was like, okay, let me go back and touch some old Castlevania games. I kind of wanted to like see the progression of the franchise through the years.
Right.
But I wanted to start with Super Castlevania 4 for a couple reasons. One, I love Super Nintendo games.
There you go.
2, in terms of where I started to sort of find games fun and a good balance of difficulty and the technical progression and the things they're able to just do with the game. Super Nintendo was always my sweet spot.
Yeah.
Like Super Mario World, by far my favorite Mario game, more than Mario 3 or Mario 1 or by fucking Mario 2, of course.
Yeah,
you know how I feel
don't
about
like
Mario 2.
Yeah.
Same thing with Metroid. Original Metroid sucks.
Original Metroid is really, really rough.
Even the Game Boy Metroid, I kind of like had. I don't love it. I've played through it. It's okay. I don't really like the really zoomed in.
It is really
the
zoomed
cramped
in.
feeling.
I will say Metroid 2 on the Game Boy is like progression wise is way more thought out than Metroid 1. Like I didn't realize.
I would hope so.
Metroid 1 is fucked up and it has a lot of repeating rooms.
Yeah.
Metroid 2 has that, and they're in black and white, but they're not. You typically don't go back.
Here's why I give Metroid 1 a little bit of a pass.
Yeah,
and it's kind of why I give Castlevania 1 a pass, right? Yeah. NES, nobody fucking knew what the fuck they were doing. Games were being made by people that had never made games before, and like that was not even their like career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there were no lessons learned. Gunpei Yokoi was like making the game and designing the game, and like the ideas there are interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of like navigate a maze that is also vertical. Like those were the two things that were in his mind, and you can see that very clearly.
Basically play Zelda as a Mario game.
The idea of like get out a piece of grid graph paper and like draw your map as you're going. Like cool idea. Like I get it. Thinking of it as a toy, thinking of it how other toys existed in that time period.
Yeah, it's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. It's like the ideas are fine. It feels bad. It feels bad, especially in 2024. So like it is what it is. I'm glad they remade it. We have Zero Mission.
Yeah, Zero Mission.
Game.
That's it. Yeah,
Zero Mission fucking rules. You don't need to play the original other than to like if you want a history lesson.
Zero Mission is the canon game anyway. So
yeah. So Metroid 2, I like Metroid 2. I have nothing against Metroid 2. I just it feels cramped to me. The level layouts feel weird. I feel because they're like compensating for the screen they had to deal with.
Small and
so
weird,
like
except
just
for
like the level layouts just like feel. They feel weird. Like they feel different from all the other Metroid games.
Yeah, I mean the whole game's fucking weird.
The game's just weird.
Some of the music is literally just
because they had like one sound channel.
Yeah, it's like
so,
I should play you the track that I'm thinking of later.
So Metroid 2 is fine, and then Super Metroid. Going back to my original argument,
Super Metroid is
Super Metroid fucking rules. All of these Super Nintendo games fucking hold up today. They're fun today by modern gameplay standards.
A lot of those Super Nintendo games are literally just take a game that we made on the NES and turn it into something that really is the vision of it.
Exactly. So, all right. So I play Super Castlevania 4 on my Steam Deck and in Atlanta. And I'm having a really good time for a little while.
Okay. Oh my god.
The shit that's in the game is cool. Again, I had played the original Castlevania, so I had some frame of reference.
Idea of what some of the stuff was.
I immediately recognized some of the level layouts, and that's why I pinged you. I was like, "Is this fucking remake of the first Castlevania?" Once I got far enough in, and you were just like, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah, it's just straight up. It's straight up a remake.
Which again, cool ideas, cool. Like the whip moving around, fucking cool. Like a lot of cool shit in the game. The game itself, the core system is cool and good, and I respect it. The two things that we can definitely agree on, starting on a note of like positivity and an agreement, the graphics and the music are like best in class. Like they're so fucking good, even by all the other Super Nintendo game standards. Like, loved that shit from start to end.
Castlevania 4 is one of the
truly
few
bad
games
to say about
that like actually use decent bass.
And you get to listen
in
to
the
the whole
game.
fucking soundtrack in the sound test right off the
Yeah,
main
yeah,
menu, which
yeah.
I did a lot of.
That was
Because
a Konami game. A lot of old games from then would let you do that.
yeah, so just like that's the good shit. Anyway, so I was getting through the game. I got to like stage 6 or so. And then I started to have a bad time. And I started to be like, well, here's the problem. I was playing the game as if it was on Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Right? In the anniversary collection, you have save states, you
can save,
shit that make
save
the
and
game
load
more
the
convenient
state,
and
yeah.
save you some time, right? So like I was doing fine until I started just like dying at this area over and over. And I was trying to figure out, because like to your point, everything has a right answer.
Yeah, everything
which
has an answer.
I kind of get that idea,
Mhm.
but it's hard to figure that out, what that answer is sometimes.
Sure.
And so if that thing you're trying to solve and figure out combines the really clunky platforming that the whole game has kind of kept through the whole franchise, combined with like the hit trajectories and the instant deaths in the pits, like and it's
Yeah.
at the end of a level and then you have to start over, then
Yeah,
you have to spend
you
another
get
5 to
that-
10 minutes to get back to that area, and then you fucking get a game over and you start the whole fucking stage over. I was like, man, I was getting heated. I was getting real fucking heated.
That's sad. It's kind of about that. That's why you have unlimited continues. You never have to game over. Like you never have to
That's
full game
fine.
over.
Do any of the games have continues?
I don't think so.
any of them
I don't
do.
think any of them do. Yeah, I think you
But,
can
like,
always try again.
Dude, there's just like the respect for the time is painful.
Look,
It's fucking painful, dude. If I were to actually play that game on my Super Nintendo, it would take me weeks.
you think it would take you weeks?
I think it would take me weeks. The last couple levels
the jumping
are
the jumping
very fucking
they're
rough.
fucked up. They're fucked
The
up.
fucking
but
stair level, and then also the one with the
platform.
zigzag.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It's
but
very
once
fucked
you
up.
figure it out,
But that's
you
like,
figure it out.
but that's
you figure it
all
out.
one stage, and then
Yeah,
Dracula at the end.
Yeah.
And then I was like doing Dracula over, even with the save states. I did it over and over and over.
Yeah.
That took me like an hour to figure out
So,
with
man,
save states.
oh,
And
man.
I'm like, I can't do one attempt like and do the levels over and over again and like string it all together. Like I don't have fucking time for that in 2024. So that's my issue. Is really like it was probably fine, at a time when in 1994 when like there weren't a lot of games coming out. You could give it a go every night,
Sure.
for like 6 months and then eventually get there and then have this intense feeling of satisfaction
Yeah.
because you overcame this challenge. I get it. I understand it.
Mhm.
It just feels fucking terrible, which is clearly why they give you the ability to save state in this anniversary collection in the first place.
They give you the ability to save state in all of these collections because a lot of the time there are some really archaic ways of trying to extend playtime.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about.
That
but
is
again,
basically it.
the game isn't even really that long, and it uses passwords. Like you can always come back to where you
Right.
started.
And I get it.
Left off, I mean. But
I think really what just hung me up was just like the expectations versus the reality. Like no other game on the Super Nintendo
plays like that.
plays like that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
why it's
that-
cool.
What do you mean that's why
That's
it's
why
cool?
it's cool
That's
as
why
shit.
it's archaic. That's
No,
why
no,
it's
no,
obsolete.
no, fuck that. That's why it's still fun. Because it's the only series that plays like that, where the jumping is heavy as fuck. You in that game you don't have to commit so much, but in the other games you kind of when you make a jump arc, you're committed to it.
It's like
That's
a
it.
fighting game jump.
Yeah, it is.
It's like high risk to jump.
A lot of things you do, you have to think like 3 steps. You have to think about the next 3 steps, and if one of those steps is wrong, then you ooh, and then you start the bit over.
It feels terrible.
It
It's arcade game mentality.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, exactly. Arcade game mentality is fun. It's good. You don't have.
It's fun in a game like Shredder's Revenge, where it's been reimagined.
It's been reimagined. Well, so okay,
And you can play the game and like get through it in a reasonable amount of time, and it doesn't like push back on you so hard.
I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna sound gatekeepy and elitist and shit. But it's like a lot of these games are made in a way that they don't think they owe you victory. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
They just owe you some fun. So what would happen then is that the fun that you're having playing the game will carry you to winning, rather than being like, I need to beat this so I can move on to the next thing.
Well, and that's part of my issue. Is
Yeah,
I wanted
yeah.
to play through the games.
You want to play through all
I
of
want
the
to get
games.
through them to
And
get to the modern games.
So yeah, so if you're doing it that way, then of course you're gonna feel like you're being held back because the game is fighting against you. The
Well,
game's
and again,
literally fighting against you.
In 2024,
Yeah.
the scarcity is not the cost of the game. It's the
Yeah.
time to play
It's the
it.
time to play it. You're not wrong. Yeah.
That's the frame of reference that I'm struggling with here.
So my thing is these games are all typically short enough that the getting beat up in them isn't so bad. At least in my opinion.
No, I agree, and that's why
Yeah.
I got through the first 6 or 7 stages, and
Yeah.
I would die and start it over and be like, all right, let
Yeah.
me master it and
Yeah.
really learn it. But when I started getting those fucked up levels towards the end, I
Those-
was like, dog.
Like I agree with you, those levels are fucked up, but I think that's what makes them cool. Is that they had the confidence to be like, you think you got it? You
But
think
there's
you get
hard games nowadays that don't punish you so badly for fucking up.
Well, then,
Like Celeste again is my perfect example.
you bring up Celeste, yeah,
Celeste is a very hard game that pushes you forward rather than backward.
yeah.
Like you still have to do all the things, and there are times when you have to string a lot of shit together.
But
Especially the DLC
Yeah.
that they added.
When you get past a section, like a section, they'll be like, you got it.
Yeah, it's like you've done it.
Start
now.
here.
You've
They're
done it
like,
now.
Don't
Now
worry
you
about
start
it.
here.
Keep moving forward. Keep
That's
dying.
That feels
okay,
good
you got it.
in
Keep going.
2024.
We're gonna look at this game later.
We can, by all means, play through it for me.
I'm not gonna play
Let me
through all
watch
of it, but
No, you gotta play through the last 3 levels.
fucking.
You gotta do it.
I have to fucking what's it called? But okay, so I think Castlevania 4 though is the easiest. Of those
for sure.
Classic Vania games, mainly because the whip is good. The whip is really good.
The whip is really good.
It's,
You basically never need a sub
The
weapon.
sub weapons are like convenience items. The cross is still good. The axe is still good, but
Yeah.
like the thing the axe would do, which was attack shit above you, you
yeah.
just use your whip to
Yeah.
do that.
You can shoot fucking up, diagonal,
Yeah.
all that shit.
But then Rondo of Blood actually takes that away from
I've
you.
never played
And,
Rondo of Blood.
Richter,
I would like to play it.
Richter and Rondo of Blood is about as limited as Simon is in Castlevania 1.
Interesting.
But that game also has a second character that isn't limited like that.
I see.
But the game kind of makes you feel silly for playing her. But that's,
Shames you.
it doesn't shame you, but it makes it lets you know how they feel about you.
I'll tell you,
that
it was
particular
the
character.
same level of fucked up that I saw when I played the first Castlevania today.
Mhm.
And I got to the hallway of the
Yeah,
armor
the
story
arm-
axis
yeah,
and the
yeah.
Medusa heads, and then you fight fucking Death, and he's
Yeah.
like the hardest fucking boss
Yeah.
ever.
Oops. There's just things that you start to learn about how those games work where you can kind of trivialize.
Have you
some of the
beaten all
challenges.
these games
I've beaten-
organically?
That what do you mean organically? Like on my own? Like
No,
on my own, like without save states and shit?
Yeah, without
yeah,
sa- all of them.
yeah.
That's fucked up.
I made.
I need to see this
I
happen.
made a point of that too. You were talking about Castlevania 2 earlier. I don't think that's important right this second because it's not. It's
We
so,
can talk
it's-
about Castlevania
but
too.
it's so different from the other two.
It is very different.
I think if you
The shit about people lying to you. As soon as I saw it, I was like, no, I'm not. I'm using a fucking guide for this.
no.
That's so
once
fucked
you
up.
know they lied to you,
How do you know that though? How do you even learn that?
because they will tell you things that just aren't in the game.
But how do you know that
literally
they're not
say
in the game?
They'll say shit that like I know NES games tend to not make sense, but they will say shit that doesn't make sense. And it,
But I feel like the translation
No.
also doesn't help.
no,
Like
no.
possess.
Yeah, that's
There's
fucked,
like
but
bad translation.
there's that,
shit.
but there isn't the bad translation usually just extends to certain like spelling errors and shit. It's not necessarily crazy shit. So some people would say that the translation is why they lie to you, but that's not true. In the Japanese game, they also lie. Like the lies are part of the game.
Speaking of Japanese game, I just need to
they're
bring
trying to
this
stop
up.
you. Yeah.
I did read, and you'll have to confirm this for me, that the Japanese version of Super Castlevania 4
Mhm.
is more forgiving than the international version.
Oftentimes, those cameos, the Japanese versions of Konami games are easier.
I would like to
even-
play because
even-
I think the Anniversary Collection has it. I
Yeah.
kind of want to play through the Japanese version of Super Castlevania 4.
You should go ahead.
Let's see what it's like.
Castlevania 3 is easier in the Japanese version too. It also sounds better because it's a disc system game.
Oh my god, dude! The disc system version of Bloody Tears is so
Yeah,
much
it's
better
so
than
much-
the
it's
NES
so
version.
much better. In
NES
fact,
sounds so shitty.
the NES sounds fine, but once you hear the
Yeah,
Famicom disc
with
system
what it's
version,
intended to sound
over.
like.
Yeah.
It's the same with Metal Gear also.
Yep.
Like the NES when they have an original song that's made for something that has more sound channels than the NES, you realize how shitty the NES can sound.
The NES is usually is like demaking music, and then you do want that sound, you have to add the chip to the cartridges. And
Right.
people weren't fucking doing that. That's expensive. But so I was gonna say, if you start with Castlevania 3, I think that game is really fucking good.
I've been enjoying 3.
It's also the hardest one.
That's what I hear.
You have multiple characters, and you have characters that like do shit that the Belmont doesn't do normally, including Alucard, who isn't very good in that game actually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. That's why Sypha is like so highlighted in the
Overpowered.
TV show.
Oh, okay.
In the Netflix show. But
I need to rewatch that too.
yeah, like I finished
I
the
got
game.
the taste now.
Sypha was who I used to beat the last boss actually. Trevor kind of.
There's an annoying. I was looking at the achievements on the Anniversary Collection.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, they're all literally just beat the game.
Yep.
But for Castlevania 3, it's beat the game with each
all,
character.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but
you could probably make a save state.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Like,
but you can't have all the characters.
Exactly, you can't have all the characters. So you have to make a save state, beat it with Trevor, beat it with whoever you have, and then.
Is it just the final boss? Like
it's
beat the final boss?
Okay.
Just like who do you have selected when the game ends?
With that character. The even the Dominus collection doesn't have any ridiculous achievements. It's just beat the bosses.
I do like that.
Beat the bosses, do the bonus mode, and that the bonus modes are typically
what makes Castlevania 3 so hard?
Castlevania 3 is it has a lot of little like, not that the other games don't, but it has a lot of it asks you to do some precise things, and it doesn't give you a lot of time to learn it.
Like jumping or
jumps and enemy patterns and shit like that. It just gives you a lot. It's kind of like it's Castlevania 1 with a bunch of shit on it. And if you haven't played Castlevania 1, then you don't have the foundational information to deal with 3.
So that was another thing that I realized after having touched 1, 2, and 3 is like truly they're all embodied in 4 also.
Yeah.
Having the skills from each of those games makes 4 a lot better.
Better and easier. Like
I was missing that.
You then appreciate the extra things that 4 has that you can do.
It is crazy. I actually like got fucked up in a good way when they hit you with fucking Bloody Tears, Vampire Killer beginning in a row. 3 levels in a row. I was like, oh shit,
they're fucking.
This is the real shit
is
here.
Bringing it all back around. Because it's when you get to the castle, when you're going up the clock tower and all that shit too. The on top of that. So Castlevania 2, then, I think is also really easy.
It's been pretty, like the combat has been quite easy.
It's really easy. The game's pretty grindy. And
that's any game with that bullshit. It's the same with Zelda 2. I'm just like, what's the point? What's the fucking point?
What's the point is the kill time, because otherwise the game is really short.
But that's what I mean. It's like,
yeah. I think Castlevania 2 is like the worst of those games, but I also don't think it's bad. I think the Angry Video Game Nerd video kind of gave it a bad rap from.
I'll need to go watch that. I don't remember that.
That was the first video. That was his very first video.
Oh, that's funny.
I think that gave it a bit of a bad rap, but it's not so bad that like that was a performance.
Same thing. Like I think the thing that's nicest about Castlevania 2, is how forgiving the deaths are. Yeah,
the deaths are very forgiving. They
like,
do take
just the screen. You start the screen over, fucking Celeste style, and,
right.
And then all you lose is like experience, which is fucking whatever. You grind your way to the next level, and then you
grind your way
to
the
the
next
bullshit
level.
where you do your fucking guess and check until you get there,
and you get the hearts and shit. And me personally, finding my way around a game is not very hard. Like I don't even need a map sometimes. If things are laid out in ways that
simpler than I expected it to be.
If it's laid out in a way that makes sense to me, then I can navigate it without a map. Like the first time I beat the game, I should say. That day, I finished the game 3 times in a row. There's 3 different endings depending on how fast you beat it.
I didn't realize it would literally just be like 2 options for your path. Like that helps me visualize it a lot more. Like in 2.
In 2, what do you mean?
Well, every time that you reach a juncture of some kind, it's just
it's
A
usually
or B.
you go up or you go down.
Yeah.
I know.
I didn't realize it was that simple.
Yeah.
So like once I realized that, I was like, okay.
Yeah, you're not going around like a big.
That's
Metroid
kind of what I was
map.
expecting.
That's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's basically a line. There's some up and there's some down, and you go town castle, town castle, town castle, town castle, Dracula. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and it's like once you understand the rhythm of the game and get started with some level ups and some weapons.
It's
and shit,
definitely a
you're good.
game where, unlike the other Castlevanias, it's strictly a game of knowledge.
Yeah.
Once you have the knowledge that the game is hiding from you, then the game is easy.
The game's easy.
Yeah.
The if you and the game is game gets a direct sequel in Harmony of Dissonance, which is very funny.
What? Is Harmony of Dissonance a direct sequel?
Yeah. Harmony of Juiced Belmont is Simon's grandson.
That's pretty funny.
And Juiced is doing what
about Harmony of Despair?
That's a different thing. That's where the players get turned
I've
into
actually
Castlevania
played that
characters
one.
That game should have came out on Switch on a handheld.
That game's cool.
That game should be on a
getting
handheld so
shit on.
everyone can play like
The 8-player shit was cool.
Was it 8? I thought it was 6. Or was it 4?
In my head, it was 8. Maybe it's not though.
I don't think it's 8, but it was.
But online, giant map, everybody's
giant
on
map.
It,
you can
cool
zoom all the way
thing.
out and see everyone doing their shit.
I remember when I was playing through as a young lad
Yeah.
the original Mega Man games, which again, I don't think they're as hard as Castlevania. I think Castlevania is fucking harder than all of, maybe not the first one, but the other 2 through 6 Mega Man.
2 is easy. 2 is an easy game, but
other than Crash Bomber on Wily 2,
okay.
yes,
Okay.
Because that one you have to aim perfectly. Otherwise you run out of ammo. But anyway, yeah. So Mega Man games, they get a rap for being like the hard Mega Man NES, ooh, scary.
Yeah.
They don't hold a fucking candle to Castlevania difficulty.
Really interesting.
Again, it comes down to the punishment.
Yeah.
Because like one Mega Man level is really not that long. You're going through the first time, it might take a while and feel longer than it is. But once you know the level layout, you can zoom through it. Like that's how Mega Man 9 was for me. I had a hard time when it first came out, and I was fucking 19. It came out on my birthday, I think, when I was on my 19th birthday. I was like, what the fuck? Am I going to be able to beat this one? It's pretty fucking hard. And then I can just kind of breeze through it as long as I practice it now. But yeah, so the opinions you were giving were that you kind of disliked the experience you were having with Castlevania. But I don't think you were really only hearing my frustrations.
Yeah, I don't think you actually
weren't getting my whole
I think it feels like what you were getting, what I was hearing was when the game was pushing back, that's when you would express it.
Yes.
Rather than the time that you had dancing through it.
Right.
You know? And
I like that you can move in midair in Super Castlevania 4, but there's just something that really rubs me the wrong way about the way that parts of that game feel.
That's we'll go over it. We'll go over it a little bit today.
All right.
But I think Castlevania 4 it's not perfect obviously, but I think it's it also has less of the like monster dance music than the other games. The other games feel like it's like monster club music.
Oh, right.
But this game is more of
Which one is the first Castlevania
stuff.
the one that actually has the song called Monster Dance or Mad Dance?
I
know it's in Smash as like a remix or something.
2.
Is it 2?
Yeah.
2 has good music too. All the games have fucking banging music.
Yeah, that's Castlevania 2. Yeah. I think you will enjoy the entire fucking series once you get through it. I think
I will too.
Your claim that Kid Dracula is the best of those is ridiculous, but
I really liked Kid Dracula.
It's a really good game, but it's completely different.
It is completely different. It's a fucking Mega Man game.
The fact that it has I'm not terrible. Yeah, you're right. I'm not perfect with the like music terminology, but
the music in Kid Dracula is not very good.
But it moves some of the tracks up to like a major scale instead of a minor scale.
It's Vampire Killer and major.
It has beginning in there, but it moves up one.
Funny.
So that
I liked it. I laughed.
Yeah, it sounds like a cheery song instead of a spooky whatever. On top of that, Galamoth, who
he's
the end boss in that game
is in Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, but Galamoth has been, because it's 10,000 years in the future. That Galamoth gets to have relevance in certain Castlevania games, like Castlevania Judgment.
That's funny.
It sends the Time Reaper back.
I think that's actually why I asked if you had Castlevania Judgment.
That's funny. Yeah. Galamoth is basically a major plot point, and that's why everybody is all the times are fucked up.
Galamoth is funny.
Yeah, just the existence.
I just like how fucking easy that game is.
Yeah, game's easy.
I like being able to breeze through the game. Like if I had Kid Dracula, I would probably play it on like my analog pocket. Blow through the game on like an afternoon. Yeah. You know, like that's I like that.
But you have it on your Steam Deck now, so
yeah.
But look, you need to, what I think you need to do is go through those games thinking I'm not going to beat them. I'm just going to enjoy them. And if you dislike it enough, you don't have to win. You can just move on.
I'm enjoying them now that I've altered my view of what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
Because again, the only Castlevania games I had played were easy. Like I had played Symphony of the Night up until it gets hard. Yeah, and then I had played Circle of the Moon, which you can break into oblivion.
You can break that shit beat all
like,
over your knees.
That was my exposure to Castlevania. Other than the first one, which again, like similar to Metroid 1, I was like, okay, this is fucked up, but there's there's good reason for it to be fucked up. So when I got Super Castlevania 4, I was expecting easier game, just like maybe some pushback, not quite so punishing.
Yeah.
The deaths in terms of the backtracking. So that's also why I called it the Dark Souls of fucking
ridiculous.
The fucking punishment when you have to backtrack all the bullshit and do shit perfectly to get back to where you are.
I already think like Dark Souls is hard, not like it's not the same kind of hard that I think of when I think of difficulty. I think it's just kind of it's a patience test. It's an endurance test. It's not.
I mean, so is Castlevania to a degree.
But
do you have the patience to master everything perfectly?
It is that, but it's on a smaller scale. It's not trying to.
Yeah.
It's not.
Maybe.
There's just less. There's less things to. There's less time to burn through to get through it. But
that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the best 3D Castlevania is still Devil May Cry though. Devil May Cry 1 specifically.
Yeah.
Even though it's an RE game, whatever. But so you feel better about the series now?
I feel fine about the series.
Okay. I think
it's just when I was getting frustrated, I was getting really frustrated.
Yeah.
Because I was playing the game like natively or whatever, like no save states. And I was just like, this is a fucking waste of my time.
I know you're not going to want to do this, but I think you should try just enjoying them without save stating to win it. Like if you get to that point, then
I don't. What do you mean? Why?
Huh?
I'm basically save stating until I get annoyed, and then I'll start save stating.
Yeah. Okay. Like
that's kind of how I'm playing. Like I'll play. I'm not gonna think about save stating every time I'm moving. Yeah. I'll basically play until I die, and then I'll be like, all right, I've seen this now, and then I'll start save stating until I get to that point, and then I'll just play it until I die, and then I'll start save stating again.
Yeah. Like okay.
That's basically what I've been doing.
Okay. Yeah. Just
I have some level of competency over the sections that I'm playing. Yeah. It's not just pure fucking. Yeah. Like minor guess and check. Like.
Yeah. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm kind of doing the piss dance. I'm gonna go piss real quick.
I think we're pretty much.
We're pretty much done. So I guess we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah. We haven't talked about any of the 3D games.
Later. I haven't even played what?
We haven't talked about any of the 3D games, which I've never touched, but I hear some of them are good.
The 3D games, I'll be real about it. The 3D games just ain't really great. I like Castlevania.
I'm assuming Iga didn't touch any of them.
No. Okay. Well, no, that's not true. Legacy of Darkness and Harmony and Curse of. Let me back up. Not Legacy of Darkness. PS2 games. Lament of Innocence and Curse of Darkness.
Okay. Those aren't really accessible anymore, are they? You can't really play them anymore.
If you have a PS3, you can play Lament of Innocence. But the other one, you need a PS2 or an Xbox.
What about Lords of Darkness? Do you like them at all?
Lords of Shadow?
Lords of Shadow.
Those games are their own thing. They borrow a lot of mechanics from recent-ish action games from the times that they came out. Yep. Especially the first game. There's like a boss that plays like Shadow of the Colossus straight up.
Funny.
The combat is a lot like God of War with the ranged attacks and launching and shit like that.
Oh, okay.
The second game
pure action game.
Yeah, the second game is pretty much the same thing, but it's got a lot of twists on the narrative. It's its own version of the story. Like you play as Gabriel Belmont, who then becomes Dracula,
right.
And then he has a son named Trevor who becomes Alucard.
Goofy shit.
Yeah, like Simon is in there as a child. It's like a lot of the timeline is contracted so that all these characters can be around each other, and it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And those games, ironically, are how we got Metroid Samus Returns and Metroid Dread.
Oh, that's right, because that's Mercury
Steam.
Mercury Steam. Yeah.
And the biggest irony is that the genre tends to be called Metroidvania,
right?
And they've worked on Metroid and Castlevania.
Yeah. Nobody better to keep carrying the torch. Maybe somebody better.
I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of people in that particular game now, but
yeah, true.
I think we're like new Castlevania games are probably over So there's plenty of time to just enjoy what exists now.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 whole collections worth
There's
of
3
games.
whole collections.
So
Those don't even
that's
have
pretty-
all the games.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all I'm going to be touching, I think,
Okay.
until the fucking Rondo of Blood one comes out.
Yeah, I mean that's already on PS4.
I'm not going to play it on PS4.
You're not gonna play it on PS5? You can just Chiaki it or whatever. I have it. I can just
I could.
let you play it.
I also have it.
Oh, then what the fuck? All right,
Whatever. We'll figure it out. I'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
Okay, but yeah. So the series has a lot to offer in terms of arcade style games and the Metroidvania style games, and even the 3D games. You can find some enjoyment. I think Lament of Innocence has really cool music. I think it's as like the first game in the story. I think it's got a lot of cool things going with it. Curse of Darkness being a like sequel to Castlevania 3. That's cool. You get to see Castlevania 3 characters in a new context, and you get to see what else was going on with that, which is what the Netflix series is based around, in fact. And then there's the DS games, which are all really fucking good. It's hard to describe how good those games actually are.
I'm excited to play those.
The DS gave a second life to like PS1 style 2D games.
Yeah.
2D, like Sega Saturn DS, and I think I wish there was a little bit more of that. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night has is cool, but it's also the result of when there isn't someone to tell you no.
I know.
There's stuff in that that's
kind of
like
loose.
That's overdone, and there's stuff in there that's undercooked, specifically the animation.
It just doesn't feel like tight.
Yeah,
to the same degree,
it feels
or
like
polished.
Like y'all know I'm weird about it, but it feels like an indie game.
Yeah, I agree.
And like when I say feels like an indie game, it feels like a game that I have to be like, oh look,
it feels like it doesn't have the production value.
Yeah, like
which is true. I mean, their budget is probably smaller because it's fucking Kickstarter.
It's Kickstarter, but they did follow through on all their It's been getting updates over the years since it came out in 2019.
I'm gonna be real. That's probably why they were like, oh shit, we hit all these targets. The money doesn't scale that way, dude.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That's why Kickstarter always fucks up. But it is what it is. All right, I'm gonna let you go piss.
All right. So what? I'll piss. You see us out. I'll see you guys next time, motherfuckers.
No fans today. Just I guess Iga is his own fan now. Fucking as an indie developer. But if you like this shit, give us a like, a comment, a subscribe. We are on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and Spotify. And YouTube. Give us a like. I already said that. Shoot us an email at memoryleaguepodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, we'll try to keep the ball rolling now that I don't have any fucking work conferences to go to. So until next time, gamers, out.